All right, welcome in now to the Burger Smokehouse, PowerMizzou.com dance class. After an 86-81 loss to Arkansas in overtime, heck of a game. Missouri plays without Jeremiah Tillman, plays overtime without Mitchell Smith, plays in effect the last 15 minutes without Kobe Brown, gets huge contributions from Torrance Watson, Parker Brown, Xavier Pinson, but in the end, for the first time all year, can't close out a close game. Missouri loses it 86-81 to the Razorbacks in OT. Missouri actually led it 81-80. Razorbacks scored the last 6 points of the game. It's Arkansas' sixth win in 7 games. I think sixth straight SEC win. Mizzou loses back-to-back games for the first time all year. They're 13-5. They're 6-5. We're going to be here to break it down with you guys, talk about what everything means, all that as we go forward. What we always do to start this thing is 2 things. First of all, we thank Burger Smokehouse. They are our sponsor for this show all year long. You see their logo up there in the top right-hand corner. They actually gave away at halftime today a year's supply of bacon to someone who made a putt on the court from the baseline to the opposite free throw line. So I think that's like a 77-foot putt. So somebody got a year's supply of Burger's bacon. I would actually take that as sponsorship for this show. They pay me money, but we could talk about, a payment in bacon down the road. Either way, you guys should pay them money, get some bacon, get some other stuff. Smokehouse.com, any grocery store you want across Missouri. Appreciate you guys being here. Appreciate you hanging out with us to talk about this game. I know Pocket Watch, while you guys were waiting, already gave us a super chat, and appreciate that. Pocket Watch, appreciate you being over here after a rough day for you. Your Tigers lost for the 50th time in 52 tries in Lexington, Kentucky. And then these Tigers lost, and you've been here hanging out with us and supporting what we do in Missouri all season long. So appreciate that. 0 for 2 today. Maybe next time will be better. Who knows? I don't know who Auburn plays next week. I know Missouri plays Georgia. But anyway, the way we always start this show after we pay the bills and say hi and all that is we always go to Conzo Martin. So I'm going to play you his post-game press conference. Just finished up a couple minutes ago. We'll play that. We'll come back. We'll open up the phone lines, take your calls, talk about whatever you want.
Again, you hate to lose ball games, especially when you know how much your guys put into a game going into it. But I'm really proud of the effort, how they fought, and just to see the growth in Parker Brown, though he we come up short. He will grow from that game, playing in major minutes down the stretch of a ball game. And I think really happy to see Torrance make shots because I know how much time he's put into it. So that part is great, especially for us moving forward. Hopefully he can continue to capitalize on that. But that was good to see. So that's a bright spot for me.
All right, we'll go to questions. Jack Sobel.
Konzo, at the end of overtime, it like X kind of just dribbled around and took a 3 there. What was the plan on the last possession, and what did you think about his shot selection?
What was the play we execute? That wasn't the shot we were looking for. It's a play we execute in practice, so that certainly wasn't the shot we were looking for. But if he had a clean shot, shoot it, but I don't think that was a clean look.
Mason.
Hey, Coach. So Jeremiah Tillman was a pretty late scratch for today. How much notice did the team have before it was announced that he wouldn't be available?
Well, we knew there was a death in his family, so you have to respect that. So we understand it.
Ben Hockman.
Coach, with the 3-point shots both made and just attempted in general, season high, was that part of the game plan in general, or when Tillman was ruled out, did that change things with that strategy?
Not at all. I think we simply, I think the Auburn game was a game we didn't shoot the 3-ball well, but we've been shooting the ball well. And this is kind of what I thought we'd be able to shoot the ball as a team. We got guys that can make shots. I just think it's, the comfort, relaxing, shooting game rep shots in practice. So not surprised with that, but it's also good shots. It's not as if we taking off the dribble, tough 3-point shots. We're taking shots that we practice, so that part is good. We don't necessarily have a number, even with or without Tim. We shoot 32 3-point shots, and if he's in the game, it's probably because they doubled him in the post. He had those opportunities, but we don't have a specific number, no.
Dave Matter.
Conzo, you guys still maintain possession, but what did you think of the goaltending call? Is it all kind of deflating when points come off the board at a moment like that?
Well, again, I thought it was in. I thought it was goaltending. We were trying to set our defense to get stops and do what we need to do. But then it was our ball. We had a play that we wanted to execute. But I wouldn't necessarily say deflating. It's part of we still got the ball. We got a possession. We got to execute what we're trying to do. And then you still got to get stops. I thought we did a great job. We were up one. They got a backdoor play. That hurt. I think that hurt. That took a lot of air out of our guys because we were positioned for that, and that's something we talked about. Be ready for this, and that specific player, be ready. So it's unfortunate.
Eric Baum.
Conte, you kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but just to have guys like Parker and Torrens play some pretty major minutes for you down the stretch, what does it say about, how they've developed?
Well, you're also talking about two guys that are juniors in our program. So at some point you expect them guys to be good players because the time they put into it. But I think a part of that, they have to get the reps under their belts. Now, Torrens has been in big games before. He's been in a lot of games. Parker not so much. So it's great for him, and he'll grow from it. It's because that was a lot of minutes. He had a long stretch, especially when Mitch was out, and then Kobe, was cramping up, so he couldn't go. And I thought Parker did an admirable job.
Mitch.
You just kind of answered my question about Kobe Brown. I guess at what point did he kind of say he couldn't go, and what kind of then went into the decision to put smaller guys on Connor Vanover on the defensive end?
Well, we like our chances with smaller guys on him because he's really a catch and shoot guy, and if you got to get him off the blocks, make him work. And I thought we did a solid job there. So we would rather have it that way, a guy where you can switch with him. We unless we have to, we don't really want a traditional big on them. We want smaller guys that can get up on them. We can switch different ball screens because you got traditional bigs. It's tough to stop the ball and then try to get back and recover and defend this three-point shot. So I liked our chance with our guard play.
Colin.
Coach, what do you think of the team's pick and roll defense? I guess with smaller guys on the court most of the night tonight.
It was good when certain people were in the pick and roll. For us, it was good when we had certain people on the defensive side in it, but then we had a couple guys that just weren't as good in it, wasn't gritty enough in it. But when we had certain guys there, we were good. But it was a chess match. So we got to give up something to get something. It's just like you hope we can get stops, and that's part of it.
Andrew. Hello, Andrew. Jack Sobel.
Conzo, how did Mitch's absence impact you guys in overtime?
Well, you're talking about an experienced guy, and like I said to him, he has to be better at not fouling out in games. I mean, he's a talented player, and like I say to him all the time, where do your 5 fouls come from? In your situation where as an experienced player, you have to be sound in situation. You have to be tough. You have to defend without fouling. You have to move your feet. All those things, and he'll get it.
Andrew, now back to you. Nope. Hockman.
Hey, Coach, just want to ask you about Mark Smith in general. Obviously didn't make any field goals, but can you describe his game overall and some of the things he might have contributed in other ways?
Well, the one thing about Mark Smith, he's always going to play with effort. I mean, that's all the time. I think sometimes, if his shot isn't falling because of the time he puts into it, I think it gets to him mentally, And you just have to continue to stay the course, stay aggressive, stay strong. But I think that's what happens when it's not falling, it consumes him because of how much time, how much effort, and how he approaches it, how he prepares every morning at a certain time. He has his regiment, so that can affect you. But he always has it. He always has his hard hat on, though.
Dave, Matter.
Conzo, do you expect Jeremiah back Tuesday for Georgia?
I don't know.
Eric. Nope. Colin.
Yeah, Conzo. Were you surprised that Arkansas didn't call a timeout at the end of regulation? Did you consider doing it at all?
All right, so there was most of what Conzo had to say after the game. Not super revealing, to be quite honest with you. It's an overtime game, tough loss. His team has now dropped 2 in a row. Played today without I don't know if it's his best player, but his most important player. Didn't, I mean, Konzo didn't have a lot to say, and that's okay. On this one, it's tough. Where you're at, and by the way, I'm putting up the number there, 573-234-4935. I've got the Skype line open. Anybody that wants to talk about this, has some thoughts about this, wants to talk about where they go from here, all that, I'm here. Let's do it. Give me a call, and we'll get you on whatever we're doing. We always jump to the phones above everything else. So if you call in, we'll make sure to grab that call from you. But as I was saying, they're in a tough spot because, look, there are no moral victories in this is big boy basketball. Playing hard, coming close, all that doesn't really in the end count for anything. That said, let's jump on the phone now, and we're going to the 314 area code. Who am I talking to?
Yeah, this is Tyler here. I think, overall, obviously disappointed drop one, but, without Tillman there, I'm not going to be too harsh on the loss or,
Right.
think it's kind of the end of the world. Because I think, one, to be in overtime at home without Tillman still, shows that there were guys that played well. But, man, at this point, to me, it is just inexcusable to have Mark Smith on the floor at the end of regulation and in overtime. And I've been with you for most part of the year that, look, Mark has to play well because there's not – who else
Right.
are you going to put in? But, I mean, today Pickett was on the bench. Why is Pickett not in? I know Kobe Brown was cramping, so you can't go with him is what I heard.
Yeah.
Drew Buggs was playing better than he was, though. And, I mean, look, I know he got some rebounds there pointing to, but it wasn't like he fought to those. Like, he got them because it bounced to him. And, okay, he made a couple plays, but he's a nothing on the floor. I mean, these were air balls. Like, I just think, to me, it's inexcusable to even have him playing there down the stretch in big moments.
Yeah, in a different post game, I probably would have asked Konzo why Pickett wasn't in overtime. Frankly, the way it was going, I don't know that there was a whole lot of point to ask. But yeah, Mark Smith's tough, man. I mean, his shot looks broken right now. And if he's not going to make shots for you, because you do give him credit. I mean, he took a huge charge. He got some big rebounds, but then after one of those rebounds, he also missed a 4-footer that would have changed the game. Torrance Watson definitely did enough to earn some of his minutes. Now, I will also say, and this is where some of the pessimists, detractors, whatever you want to call them, have a point. Okay, I understand the point about Mark Smith. He's not playing well, and I'm not going to argue against that. But if you get nothing out of him, you're now counting on a few things. First of all, you're counting on Torrance Watson being something that over 2.5 years he hasn't been. Now, I agree he's earned a shot. You give him more minutes. But beyond that, like, where do you go? Drew Buggs made 2 shots today, and it's a season high. Pickett normally gets more minutes, but I'm just saying if you got to fill 30 minutes, I don't know how you do that on this team with recruiting classes that basically haven't existed for 2 years. For this team to get where it's going to go, and I talked about this on the pregame show, losing Tillman hurts so much because, like, there's just not enough behind him, right? I think the top 6 to 8 guys in this rotation are good enough to win games. The problem is there's nothing, and I know everybody will say, well, yeah, there's a reason he's the 9th guy on the roster, right? He's not as good as the first 6. Yes, but the point is, Missouri doesn't have much margin for error, and that's because of the last 2 recruiting classes. I agree with you. I don't know. I think Konzo's in a really tough spot with Mark Smith. I don't have an answer. I don't know what to do, but he is a net negative for you right now.
And I've agreed with you, though, up through this year that, for the most part, there just hasn't been that many options. But in today, though, one, Torrance is playing well enough to earn the minutes to keep playing. And so why is Pickett not out there? I mean, to me, I can't understand. I get Buggs. Like, I did think he was playing better today than, honestly, I think Mark Smith played. So I wouldn't have hated that. But why is Pickett not out there? That just blew my mind for the last 4 minutes of regulation and then most of like overtime.
That's definitely a fair question on Pickett, and like I said, and I probably should have asked it, but I didn't think we were getting a lot post game, and I wanted to get the show started, so I didn't. But it's a fair question why Pickett wasn't out there. So appreciate the call though, Tyler.
Well, that was it. Yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world. Hopefully, Tillman will get back and we'll finish on, but that was frustrating.
Yeah, understood, man. Thanks a lot, Tyler. Now we're gonna jump to the 417 area code. You still hanging on with us?
Yeah, Gabe, it's Tucker. I'm here. Tucker and Joplin.
What's up, Tucker? How you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm good. Thanks. I'm just calling because I don't know. I might have a little bit different view of this team and where things stand than some others. I honestly kind of thought they'd lose today, and that was before I knew Jeremiah Tillman was out.
I'm with you. I actually would have picked Arkansas. Yeah.
We usually split with Arkansas. We won down there, and I don't know. For the whole year, Mizzou's had some really nice wins. It's been fun to watch, and I think that their resume is good, like a very good resume. But those analytic numbers do matter to some degree, and I mean I've watched every game. But, some of these close games are bound to even out. And, going into this week, and I was hearing people last week after the Alabama win, pulling up the next 6 or 7 games saying, well, yeah, if we go 6-0, I'm like, hell, there's no way we're going 6-0. It's conference basketball. And, now the other night what sucked is that it looked ugly in the second half. I mean, even losing to Ole Miss on the road's not like a bad loss. It did look bad. But if you look at some of the wins they've gotten that we're fortunate to get, some of these were going to even out. And so I'm not down on the team at all. Because I never thought this was a top 10 team. And this is not me being negative. I'm a big Conzo fan. I'm just realistic. I thought, hey, we're a 15 to 25 range team. And I think realistically we're a 6 to 8 seed in the tournament. I know right now we were a 4 before the game today, and people were like, oh, we're maybe a 2 or 3 seed. I'm like, hell, we're just not that good. And I'm not even mad about it. I'm just realistic about it. I don't know.
So I agree. I agree with a lot of what you say. And look, that whole, I don't know how Ken Pom figures luck, but he has Missouri as the 8th luckiest team in the country. And it is amusing that I think most Missouri fans' reaction to today is, well, of course Jeremiah doesn't play, and of course this happens, and of course that happens because everything goes against us. No, everything's really gone this team's way this year. Not everything, but a lot of things have gone this team's way this year. I mean, Arkansas, when they played in Fayetteville, Arkansas shot 36% on layups. That's not all great defense.
Yeah.
That's luck. And so this team has it. They were 5-0. There's only one other team in the country who is undefeated and has played as many 5-point or less games than Missouri. Old Dominion is 6-0. Missouri's now 5-1. I mean, it's like you said, they even out.
And I will say, I think some of that quote unquote luck is experience and toughness. But when I look at the big picture, I just kind of thought, I figured this to be an 11-7 team in the league, assuming they play all 18 games. And so we've split with Arkansas. Arkansas is a solid tournament team. That's normal. That's about right. The Ole Miss, if we can win, we need to win in Columbia in a couple weeks. We'll split with a team that's talented enough to be a bubble team. Teams lose games like that in college basketball. The problem is, I think that Mizzou's been down in basketball for the most part for quite a while now, except for Conzo's first year. And I think a lot of fans, myself included, have been excited to be back in the top 25 and even top 10 conversation. So lately, every time we lose a game, everybody runs to Twitter, order Power Mizzou. There's a plug for Power Mizzou. And puts, oh, so Mizzou, or we got Mizzou. No, we got beat. It happened. I don't know. I don't understand the mindset.
Well, I think there's 3 things at play here. And Tucker, I know you're a big football fan. Part of it is we are a society of football fans where every game does seem like a referendum on the season. So even in a 35-game basketball season, every time you lose, it's the worst thing ever. And every time you win, like you were saying last week, and then everybody's talking about never losing again. I mean, you can't take the football mindset to basketball, but everybody does. The other thing, I think, I agree. Missouri is probably slightly exceeding the expectations I had for it at the beginning of the season. I thought this was a team that the ceiling was probably 11-7, maybe 12-6 in the league, and like a 7 seed. That was, I thought, probably the best potential outcome. Well, then we got a few weeks into this season and they're 6-0, and then they're 12-3 or 13-2, whatever they were, 13-3, and you adjust your own expectations. Even if you shouldn't, you do it. And so then 2 in a row for the first time all year, and people are unhappy. Then I think the third thing is very simple, and I know I hate having this conversation, and we have it every game. But the people that are upset right now are upset because they view this as the ceiling, because they are looking ahead. I talked about the recruiting the last 2 years. It hurts, and it's catching up, and it's going to catch up next year. So I think the people that are upset are looking at this and going, I would be fine if I felt like an 8 seed or a 7 seed this year was going to lead to a 4 seed next year. But what if this is the height for the next 3 years? And that's why that crowd is worried. And I understand it. I don't like to have that conversation, but I do understand where it comes from.
So, and I think that's valid. And I think when you're looking and judging the program as a whole, I think the biggest failure by far is recruiting. And I've mentioned this before on the show. I think Konzo plays things the right way. In fact, I'm almost certain he does, and I think that makes it harder for recruiters. I think the whole is that this year they still have do this, and here's how I can build things, and then we will follow. I don't know if that'll work or not, but when judging this individual team, and I know you know this, but that's what I was getting at was, like, I think this team has overachieved, pretty significantly based on quote unquote the talent they have on the floor. We've got some good players, but I mean, winning. Look at, you saw the selection show today on CBS. I mean, Missouri beaten 3-1 versus those teams that they played in the selection show. I mean, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Missouri the ceiling is the Final Four. Like, they've shown they can beat the teams to get to a Final Four. And the floor is losing in the first round. So what they are is basically, 60% of the country. And it's all going to be judged on 1 to 4 games in March. It's wrong, but it's what it is. So Tucker, appreciate the call, man. The connection's kind of breaking up, so I'm going to move on. But thanks for reaching out to us. We're going to go now to the 573 area code. Who do we have there?
Brendan.
Brendan, what's going on, man? How are you?
Nothing much, man. Me and my buddies were at the casino today and spent some big money on Mizzou, and we're big Mizzou fans. And we're just wondering if you think Konzo's it or not. Like, down the stretch, the play calling, leaving Mark Smith in there earlier, like you said, like, it just feels like this repetitive cycle we can't get out of.
Well, first of all, kudos to you. I have 2 rules. I don't bet, and I would never bet on my own team. It seems like it would make watching the game miserable, but kudos to you for doing it. Do I think Konzo is like an elite coach that's probably going to take this team to the Final Four? Ultimately, no, probably not. I think he's a really good guy to have dug them out of where they were under Kim. I think he's an above-average coach. No, I don't think he's a top 10 or 15 coach. When you're talking about, play calls down the stretch and stuff, I think that gets overrated because things like, look, Missouri had an open layup, and Arkansas made an incredible play to block it. Sometimes the other guy makes a play. Now, the last play in overtime, the last possession in overtime where Pinson took, it was a dreadful shot. Konzo said after the game, he said, look, that's a play that we execute in practice, and if we execute it right, it works. But no, that's not the shot we were looking for. So, he can't call timeout mid-play and say, no, hang on, you're not doing it right. At some point, the players have to make the play too. You still there with me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you, bud. I was just wondering like the inconsistency of the wins, man. Like we'll get some top 10 win. We've lost now. We're 2 in a row, right?
Yep.
I mean, and just I don't want to say no names. Obviously, they're in the SEC. They can play, but I mean, we need to get these done.
Yeah, it's college basketball to some extent. Overall, they are. I don't think they're a top 10 team. I think they were overrated at 10. I think they're a top 25 team. I think they'll be seeded to win a game in the tournament. They could win 2. And who knows? They could get hot and win more than 2. But I don't think they're elite. They're a solid team. They're a good team. They're better than I thought they would be. And I understand why people want more than that, but I think that's where they are right now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. About 25.
All right, Brendan, appreciate the call, man. Thanks a lot. And we're going to stay in the 573. We got another 573 call. You there with me?
Yeah.
Who am I talking with?
This is Jim.
Hey, Jim. How you doing,
This
man?
is Jim.
Yeah, what's going on?
Good. I don't know if the SIDs officially announced it, but I heard this game is going to be played under protest. Apparently, Vanover violated COVID protocol and had 3 Golden Girls in his room last night. Have you heard anything like that?
No, I'm pretty sure that's probably not true. But I appreciate the call, Jim. Thanks. Hey. I appreciate all calls. If you guys want to, I mean, we haven't heard from the Cat Facts guy all basketball season, Pocket Watch wanting to know if a society of football fans is something I came up with. I don't know. I've never heard it anywhere else. I'm sure it's not. I'm not the only person to say that, but I've used that for a while in basketball season. I really do think we take a football mentality to basketball, and you just can't do it. I mean, especially because in college basketball, the truth is we don't even think the regular season matters. I mean, we get all mad about it, but nobody ever remembers it. You judge the whole season on March. I mean, that Auburn team that went to the Final Four, I honestly can't tell you, Pocket Watch, what they did during the regular season. I don't know where they might have won the SEC. They were probably really good. I just don't remember. Maybe a 3 seed. I think the internet has made it worse. We have to react to every single game, and it can't just be something that happened. It has to be this huge indicator for the future and the best thing or the worst thing. And we just have a hard time saying what my opinion of this game would be, which is, hey, Missouri hung in and they did it without a lot of their best players, and it's a flawed team and there's no moral victory, but, it wasn't that bad. I think that's the way to put it. This is a flawed team. It's not elite. It's not great. They have issues. But they have beaten really good teams. On the right day, they can get that done. I think with Jeremiah Tillman there today, they probably win that game. And if you guys weren't here when we played Konzo's postgame, he was asked if he's going to be back for Georgia, and Konzo said he doesn't know. So I think at this point, with that game being Tuesday, you got to kind of count on no Tillman for that game. Just me. And Case says, I want 1 year where we can have a dream season. And look, Missouri's had 3 of those realistically in my lifetime. Now, Case, you're probably younger than me. But in 1993-94, when I was a senior in high school, Missouri got railroaded. They showed highlights of it today. 52 points down in Fayetteville. And then they went unbeaten in the Big 8 and didn't lose another game until the Elite 8 against had lost one in the Big 8 tournament, I think. But then lost in the Elite 8 to Damon Stoudemire, Khalid Reeves, Arizona. That was a dream season. Mike Anderson's 3rd year here. They went 31-4, I think, went to the Elite 8 before losing to eventual national champion Connecticut. That was a dream season. And then you had a dream regular season in Frank Hayes' first year, and obviously it, was cut short with the Norfolk State game, but for 34 games or whatever, that was a dream season. So Missouri has had those seasons. They've just also had a whole bunch of lows. And, this season, I mean, nobody could have really thought this season was going to be a dream season, right? I mean, the roster just didn't say that. I think, like Tucker was saying, they're better than I thought they would be. They've exceeded what I thought they were going to be before the season. Now, that doesn't mean you can't change your expectations. You absolutely can change your expectations, and it makes sense that people do that as you go along. And I think that's part of the frustration people are having is as this team progressed, they upped expectations, and then because of the higher expectations, now it feels like Missouri is falling short of them. I want to go back because I know this is really the key, right? And hang on, I put the wrong thing up there. The key is really, okay, where are you going to be seated? That's at this point, that's what everybody's talking about. That's what everybody wants to know. Where are you gonna be when it comes down to tournament time? And I can't find the screenshot right now. I did have a screenshot of the top 16 rankings that were released this morning. I do not currently have that in front of me, I don't think. Regardless, Missouri went in today as the Final Four seed. And we'll get back to that conversation in a minute after we go to the phones, the 573. Who am I talking with?
This is Brandon. I'm with my boy Brendan here. He was just calling in earlier.
All right, Brandon and Brendan. What's up, man?
Yeah, I mean, the sports betting, man, you just got to get out of that because it just looked like Mizzou was going to be one of those games where they just fight and claw and you're going to get out of it, but
Did you guys place the bet before you knew Tillman was out?
Yeah, well, we figured that out about 5 minutes before tip-off. So I put mine in about 3 minutes into the game when they were up about 10-6 or 10-7. I was like, okay, they're spreading the court out there. And Mitchell Smith hits 2 back-to-back threes, and I said, oh, my God, here we go. But, yeah, what do you think? If Tillman's in there, I got to think they pull away with this one.
Yeah, I think they probably win this game if Tillman plays. But the flip side of that is if Tillman plays, Parker Brown, who made some huge plays down the stretch, is probably playing less. Maybe Torrance Watson. I mean, it's this whole butterfly effect thing that I don't really know. But if everything else is equal and Jeremiah Tillman plays, then yeah, I think they probably win that game because they had a ton of shots to win it even without him.
So what do you think about Torrance Watson here kind of going forward? Do you think he's going to give him some more minutes, or is he going to do the classic kind of hole where he puts Pickett in and then he puts Mark Smith back in the lineup? What do you think is going to be the situation with that?
I think Watson earned more minutes today, right? He hit 3 threes, I think. Played pretty well. I think he earned at least – look, he's not going to suddenly get in the starting lineup and take every one of Mark Smith's minutes, but he played 26 minutes today, which, by the way, Mark Smith played 28. The odd thing is that Pickett only played 8. So I got to wonder if Pickett got hurt again. And Pickett played 8. Buggs only played 15, and he scored 8 points. So, kind of like I don't know if it was your buddy or one of the other callers earlier saying, I don't understand why Mark Smith's in there and Pickett and Buggs aren't. It's a fair question. I mean, those two combined only played 23 minutes. But I think Watson definitely earned more minutes. And I mean, unless there was just like some horrific defense that I didn't see.
No, I agree with that. And I can't remember. There's another guy. He was a transfer and he went to JUCO, that Chang or something like that.
Chang, yeah.
Is he? I mean, you got to maybe throw him in.
No.
It's getting pretty sparse if Pickett's hurt and Mark Smith's giving you. I mean, you can't be that type of shooter and just be a no-show.
I mean, I agree, but Ed Chang isn't playing. Look, he hadn't played all year. There's no way he's going to play now. And that goes back to the conversation I was having earlier. The reason this roster is hurting is because the last 2 recruiting classes have basically been Kobe Brown and nothing else. The guys are either gone or they're not seeing the floor. And that's why you're kind of at the point where you're going, hey, man, where else do we turn? Well, there is nowhere else to turn. They've turned all the places they can turn at this point.
No, I think you summed it up great. Yeah, I'm just a new subscriber to Power Mizzou and really appreciate all you guys do. It's been a pleasure.
Appreciate that, Brandon. Thanks a ton, man. Thanks for being part of the show and for being part of the site. And yeah, guys, I don't know. It's I do understand frustration. I think you can come out of this game encouraged, but also frustrated. And again, we're getting into that kind of bigger picture, right, of why people are frustrated. They're not frustrated because of this game. They're frustrated more because of kind of some deficiencies that they see in the program as a whole, which I understand. We're going to the 314 area code. Who's on the phone?
Bro.
What's up, Demetrius?
What's up,
How you
Greg?
doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm hanging in, man. Hanging in. A little longer than expected because they went and played overtime with me, but, you know.
Got you.
So what do you think?
I'm not, I actually was proud of the guys in their effort tonight.
Yeah.
They showed a lot of fight. A couple of guys stepped up who don't normally, you know, get the minutes or the opportunity. Going forward, Mark Smith shouldn't be in the game no more. He should have Torrance Watson type minutes.
So where do those? But that's what we're talking about. Where do those minutes go? Do they go to Bugs? Do they go to Pickett?
No,
I mean, they should go to
Torrance.
Pickett, but well, not all of them though.
They go to Torrance Watson. They go to Torrance Watson.
But
they flip flop.
But Torrance played
Pickett,
26 minutes today, and Mark Smith still played 28. So what we don't know is where was Pickett today? He played 8 minutes.
I did see it, but I seen early. I mean, in the game when I watched it, Pickett got lost on defense a couple of times, and I know one time in particular, Konzo immediately snatched him out the game.
Okay.
So maybe that's what it was, because he got lost a couple of times on them backdoor plays that Arkansas ran.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, Torrance has to get more minutes going forward. Mark has to get less. But if that's going to be the case, like, Pickett and Bugs can't combine for 23 minutes between the two of them. The minutes have to go to them, too. So, you know, it's just kind of a numbers thing. I mean, Mark Smith has to play. Now, he doesn't have to play 28 minutes, but on a day where Pickett only plays 8, he kind of has to.
But you also got to take in consideration, you know, Kobe, for some, I mean, you know, he was cramping
Kobe
up.
was cramping.
Those were minutes that, and then Pinson was in foul trouble, so those minutes that Pinson would normally get, they had to go to somebody else. So I think, all in all, it can happen, because there's no way you a college 4-year player and you out there shooting air balls that's not even close to the. I can do better than that, Gabe.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, look, he was 0 of 8 from the floor. I said at the beginning, like, his shot is broken. I don't think there's any arguing with that. I mean, he deserves some credit for taking a charge, getting 6 rebounds and all that, but he's here to score and make shots, and he's not making shots.
That's funny. You're a funny guy, man. You know, that's funny.
I mean, it's just true. Like, look, he was 0 for 8, dude. It was a bad day, and it's part of a bad season. You feel bad. Like, you can tell when Konzo talks about him, talks about how hard he works. He loves Mark Smith. He wants Mark Smith to be good, but, I mean, we're running out of time here.
Yeah, that's not good. I like how one thing with Kobe Brown that I wish I could see more from him is playing off the bounce, because he seems to be able to attack his man and get to the hoop instead of him being basically a spot up shooter. I don't like that. I don't like when he's in that type of role. He needs to have the ball in his hands and playing downhill.
Yeah, because the sell on him was that he played point guard a ton and then grew in high school, and so he was basically a 6'7" guard. So, yeah, he can create a mismatch where he can take his guy outside and then go around him.
Well, I agree. Last thing, Parker Brown. I don't like how they use him. All he does is set screens and dive to the basket, and he never gets the pass. I see him as having a decent little mid-range shot, so put him in the short corner and run a play or two for him, because he can't just sit there and screen for Pinson and Drew Smith the whole game. I don't think they're taking advantage of the skills that he has either. That's just, you know, my opinion. But, you know, I'm a Konzo hater, so, you know.
You could be right on Parker. Look, he made a couple big plays today. You know, I think
he did.
In general, the problems he has defense and blocking out. I mean, there were a couple times he got gone around on rebounds. Like, it's just really hard to earn big minutes when Conzo Martin's the coach, when that's where your issues are. Fair or not, he's going to hesitate there. Yeah, so I think that's why you see.
I'm not that mad. I'm not that upset. I mean, the loss the other night was a worse loss than today was to me.
Totally agree.
So yeah, but we got to pick it up, get back in the gym, work hard. I'm not excited about how we've been playing maybe our last 5 games, because even though we're 3-2 or 2-3, we could have theoretically been 0-5. So
no, that's true. Look, you got to go get healthy at Georgia. You lose that game, then there's big problems.
Right, and what it does, then you, like you said, the seeding, that's when the seeding come into place. The committee don't give a darn about Tillman being out.
Right.
They're going to look at that record, and you keep losing, you're dropping them seeds, and you go from a 4 seed to a 7 or 8 seed, and the matchups just get tougher. So we got to win some more games.
100%, man. Demetrius, appreciate the call, bud. Thanks for being a part of it.
All good. Have a good evening, guys.
All right, you too, Demetrius. Thanks, man. So yeah, look, a lot of good points there, and yeah, we're talking about the seeding, and I mean, as of this morning, Mizzou was a 4. They're probably not going to be a 4 because they lost this game. They've got one quad 1 game left. That's at Florida to end the regular season. So you almost got to win that one. And then Ole Miss at home is a decent game, but at Georgia doesn't help you. A&M at home doesn't help you. At South Carolina doesn't help you. Just playing those games hurts you. So Missouri's going to drop. I think at this point the hope, unless you make this big run in Nashville, is probably a 5 seed. Maybe actually slip to a 6 because then, I don't know. But I think 5-6 is probably more the range we're looking at for this team at this point in time. Because there's just not that much left. What Missouri's resume has been so far looked like it had a chance at a 2 or a 3. Well, the committee told you today that wasn't what they think of Missouri right now. What they think of Missouri right now is the last number 4 seed. Well, that dropped today, and that probably going to drop a little further. I think they're a 5 or a 6 in all reality, and, that's like if we'd started the season and you told me Missouri's a 5 or a 6, I said great year, really good year. Got to find a way to get some transfers and build on it. So that's where you stand, really. I think he's got to find a way to get some transfers and build on it. Like I said, Conzo was asked after the game if he expected Jeremiah back for Tuesday. He said he didn't know. That suddenly is a huge – you can't go lose at Georgia. If you lose at Georgia, then the wheels are starting to come off. That is a game you have to win. That would because right now, let me look at the standings real quick. Missouri is sitting 13-5, 6-5 in the league. They are in 6th place in the Southeastern Conference. They have slipped. Obviously, they were second at the beginning of the week. They are now down. They're behind Tennessee. They're behind Florida. They're behind Arkansas. And they're behind LSU. LSU and Arkansas are actually 8-4. Got a game and a half lead on Missouri. So it might be tough. You might be playing for 4th now, Tennessee and Florida, honestly. I mean, you can catch Arkansas and LSU. Those teams have a little bit tougher schedules down the stretch, but you're making it more difficult on yourself. And Ole Miss, Ole Miss only a half game behind Missouri. Ole Miss comes into Columbia and wins, then Missouri's going to slide further down those standings. Georgia is 5-8 in the league, 12-8 in overall. You just have to win that game. I mean, there's no other way to put it. You've got 5 games left, and 3 of them are games you have to win. That's at Georgia, at South Carolina, home against Mississippi State. Home against Ole Miss really is, I mean, you could make the tournament without winning it, but if you want to be taken seriously and do anything, you got to win that. So I think Missouri's got to go 4-1 down the stretch minimum, and that would put them 10-6 with 2 games to be determined, and 17-6 overall. And it's a good solid season. It's a 6 seed, I think. If they manage to do that, we'll see where it goes. I kind of understand both points of view today. There's a lot. There are positives to take away. There's no question, but we're also kind of at the point where moral victories and almost and all that, like, it's not gonna be enough. Case says Konzo feels very similar to Barry. Bad coach, no. Great coach, no. I know it's not realistic, but I want to aim for the fences and see if we can't hit like we did on Drinkwitz. Well, I mean, I think Konzo's more successful at this point than Odom was. I think Konzo's an above-average coach. I don't think he's elite. And the recruiting, again, the recruiting that we've talked about for the last couple of years, it's showing up, guys. And the worry is that it's going to show up again next year, and that's why transfers are big. And I don't want to get into the single, again, just going every year worrying about next year. I don't want to do that, but that is the argument that the detractors have at this point in time. So let's see. Jeffrey Weber says Pickett completely lost his man on Arkansas's go-ahead bucket. That's good to know. I didn't see it. I don't remember that specifically. I may have seen it at the time. I obviously didn't remember it when we're talking here. But, yeah, Pickett 8 minutes. I didn't realize until afterwards that was all he played. And, again, I'm sure there's specific explanation, and people probably know more than I did. But you got to get more out of him if you're not playing Mark Smith. We're going to the 765 area code. Who's on the phone?
This is Alvin.
Alvin, what's going on, man? What's on your mind?
So I kind of got to ask, are we kind of looking at a team that might be on a slide where if the next couple games, like you hit on like the Ole Miss and the Georgia game, if those don't go our way, are we slipping out of the tournament at that point?
I mean, you have to win Georgia. Georgia would be a really bad loss. I think if they were to lose on Tuesday, then we could start to have the conversation of, oh, hang on, what's going to happen? Because if you lose on Tuesday, you can lose almost any game left on the schedule. I mean, it wouldn't knock them out, but I think it would at least make us think about the conversation of could it happen? I think if you go, I mean, they're 6-5 in the league. I mean, they got it. They have good non-conference wins. If they go 2-3 the rest of the way, I mean, if they lose Ole Miss, Florida, and Georgia, is that enough to get in? Probably, but then you're talking about just slipping in kind of as like a 9 or a 10 seed.
Yeah, just kind of. I'm starting to feel like we're on the verge of potentially maybe the wheels are coming off. And I think the concerning thing was the Ole Miss game. That's really what set that in my mind,
And I think they did bounce back well from that. They played hard. You couldn't question the effort today. You could question the execution a couple times, but not the effort. And so I think that was a good sign. I don't think you worry yet that the wheels are coming off by any means, but they need to win Tuesday. I mean, you can't go lose to Georgia. Georgia's a bad team.
Yeah, absolutely, and I agree. I guess with the up and down that we've had, the Mississippi States, the Ole Misses, and then today, I personally don't feel like Arkansas is a great team. We have Tillman, and we're borderline there in our own right.
I don't think Arkansas is a great team either. I think especially when Tillman's out, they do have more talent than Missouri. But they're not great. But this is the first time all year Missouri's lost 2 games in a row. It feels worse probably because you have lost 2 games in a row, but also it hadn't happened all year. So
yeah, that's very fair, and I can see that point. It's just one of those things in front of my mind, and I'm one of those guys that just I guess think the worst about things.
Well, hey man, if you can recognize it, that's the first step, right?
I guess so.
All right, so
thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Alvin. Thanks for being part of the show. I would think they'll bounce back Tuesday night. I think they will. If not, then hey, Tuesday night on this show, we're gonna have a way different conversation than we're having right now. I mean, there's no question about that. They lose that game, then we're gonna be having a different conversation than we're having today, It is disappointing. You don't like to lose games. But the effort was there. They bounced back. They didn't have their most important player. basically his backup fouled out. The other guy in the front court, I mean, their 3 front court players basically didn't play in the last. I mean, Mitchell fouled out at the beginning of overtime, but Kobe didn't play about the last 15 minutes. Tillman didn't play at all. So they basically played with a reserve front court and took it to the final 5 seconds. And it wasn't enough, and moral victories don't count and all that. But I don't come out of this game feeling nearly as badly about things as I did on Wednesday. Now, hey, they lose on Tuesday night. I feel way worse about things than I feel about them right now. So appreciate you guys jumping on, hanging out with us. Hey, Saturday game, afternoon. I don't know, not a ton of people here still, so we're going to probably jump off and finish up post-game, writing, posting video, things like that. But those of you who were here, I appreciate it. Give us a like. Tell some other people what we're doing. We'd love to build the audience up here a little bit more going down the stretch of the season and all that. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. And we'll be back Tuesday night, pregame in Georgia.